Today, we are going to talk about why their first $100,000 is the hardest. Let me get this thing up and running. What's up, fam? What's up, fam? What's up, fam? What's up, fam? Get this thing up and running as you come on. Go on and talk to me in the chat. Drop it in the chat. Why do you think the first 100,000 is so difficult to get underneath your belt? Right? Like I help people every single day clear up all of this money stuff. Why do you think the first 100,000 is the hardest to get underneath your belt? So we're going to dive into it today. We're going to talk about why it's so hard, and I'm going to give you practical tips on how to actually go about getting this, reaching this milestone. If you've never reached it before, I'll go as far as to say this: if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, or above, and you don't have at least, I don't know, man, one, I would say at least $1 million, there's something that's wrong. Right? And I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad or anything like that. I'm going to break down for you why something is wrong, but it's actually a lot easier than you think that it might be. And I'm going to show you why. So let's wait for a few more friends to jump on with us. But I really want to break down for you why the first 100,000 is so important, why it makes it so easy to reach the next 100,000, then the next, and then the next, and then eventually your first million, and then several millions as you really go along on this journey. Let me see here. All right, I see I see some friends that are on. What's up, you guys? I see some friends that's on, man. It's always good to see people that I actually know that's on here. As you guys are coming in, we're gonna kick this thing off right now. But as you're coming in, go on and drop in the comments. Why is it so difficult to get our first 100,000 invested? Here's the statistics. Only about only about 23% of adult Americans right now have, whew, my goodness, have about 100,000 invested. What's up, you guys? So my question to you is, why do you think it's so darn tough to get the first 100,000 invested? And why do you think so many capable adults in the United States don't have their first 100,000 invested? Talk to me in the chat. Drop it in the chat. What's up, you guys? What's up, you guys? I see a lot of you guys that are on. Good to see you. I see a handful of you guys that are friends, man. Like it's always good to have really good friends that's on here. Love the support. And what I love about the friends that are on here is like a lot of people are gonna watch this video or meet me for the very first time. You never what's up, Cody? You've never seen me before, you never met me before. And so a lot of you guys, what do the young kids say? That's cap. That's cap. My son hates when I say that. He's 14 now. But what's so dope about the older folks is you guys are the people that's been following me and rocking with me and that know me, know that literally 10 years ago, I was not only struggling, I was more than struggling. I was on the other side of struggling. Back in the day, like when you were broke, you were broke, and I'm 44. So some of you guys that are on that might even be older than me, you remember that like when you were broke, you were broke. You hit zero, bro, you stayed at zero. And then what happened is we got this thing called credit, and what credit allowed you to do is go way past zero. And so just about 10, 11 years ago, I was way past zero. I was in a negative. I was a negative $100,000 in debt. I was 30 years old. I just had my first child, my son. He's 14 today. We're actually going out to celebrate him after this live because he's got straight A's for this first part of the semester. He's in a very demanding school, one of the top schools here in California, and he's absolutely crushed it. So we're going to go out and celebrate. But at the time, I'm looking, back in the day, 12 years ago, I'm looking at my bank account and there's nothing there. And not only is it nothing there, my credit score is like in the 500s, and I'm negative $100,000 in debt between my wife and I. So how do you get from that, looking at that picture, if I were to come on a live like this and somebody's talking about how do you get your first $100,000 invested, I'm like, bro, I'm trying to get to zero. You're talking about 100K. I'm trying to get to zero. And now I'm saying if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, or whatever, and you don't have at least a million, then something is wrong. Something is wrong. So my question to you, Cody, Diego, Jackson, what's up, y'all? My question to you is like, why do you think the majority of people never, ever, ever get to their first $100,000 invested? Go on and put it in the put it in the comments. And I just want to have a discussion around it today. What's up, Diego? Diego's in the house. Levis is in the house. Rodriguez, what's up? Only two gen. Oh my gosh, we're gonna have some craziness on here. I can see. He says, I don't know. So let's talk about it. Um, I'm trying to get it up over here on Facebook as well. But let's talk about it. Here's a little bit about where my journey has started. So for you guys, I'm 44. When I was 34, I had absolutely $0. And I hit my first 100,000 invested probably when I was maybe like 36. And then by 38, I think I hit my first million. And then by 40, I think I hit my first like 2 million. And then I'm 44 now, so you can imagine how that happened. So the question is like, why do you think more people don't have that first 100,000 invested? Because I probably started working. I graduated college when I was 22 years old, 23. So I've been working since I was 23, but it took me until basically what did I say, 34 or 35 to have my first 100,000. So I was working for 12 years and didn't have my first 100,000. But then, 2 years later, I had the first 100,000. A couple years after that, I had the first million. Then a couple years after that, I had at least 2 million. Right. So why do you think that happened? And why do you think for 12 years I didn't have the first 100,000? Right? Like even some of you guys might resonate with that story. You're like, bro, I'm in my early 30s and I ain't got that. Like I don't have that. So and then some of you guys are in your 40s and you hear me talking about, if you don't have at least a million in your 40s, something is wrong. And some of you guys are like way not close to that. So you're probably thinking, what the hell are you talking about? But I want to go back to, I was working for 12 years from 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. I'm working all those years and I'm $100,000 in debt. Instead of having 100,000 invested, I was 100,000 in debt. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Diego says, I'm out. He says, you taking too long. So let me tell you why. Why is basically because of three reasons. Three reasons. One is you're not focused on it. When I think back on my story, it just wasn't something that I was focused on. So number one is a lack of focus. It's a lack of focus because we have a lack of desire. We have a lack of desire in that area to want to get our first 100,000 invested. And there's nothing wrong with you. It is just that we have to change where our focus is at and where our priorities are. Number two is it's a lack of discipline. Having multiple millions of dollars is not hard. It's easy to do. It's just easier not to do. Here's the formula if you want to have multiple millions of dollars. Okay. Here's the formula. Spend less than what you make and invest the rest. That's the formula. That's the formula if you want to have multiple millions and millions and millions of dollars. I'm almost sad that Diego left us because I just gave him the game. That's the formula. Let me tell you, if you're making $2,000 a month, here's the formula. Only spend 1,000, invest the rest. Invest that other 1,000. If you're making $5,000 a month, only spend four and invest the rest. Invest that $1,000. If you're making $10,000 a month, only spend eight and invest the rest. The rest is that $2,000. If you're making $20,000 a month, only spend 17, invest the rest. That's $3,000 a month. Now, here's the deal. If you're making five and you're spending four and you invest that 1,000, then over a year, what is that? That's $12,000 that you're investing. And if you invest $12,000 every single year, then you're going to reach that first 100,000. You're going to reach that in probably, I don't know, man, maybe like 5 years. Let's just look at it. I want you guys to download something on your phones, or if you're on your computers, go to something called Compound Interest Calculator. Okay? Go to something called Compound Interest Calculator. Compound Interest Calculator. All right? So, what we're going to do is our initial investment is going to be $12,000. Excuse me, it's going to be $1,000, right? Our monthly contributions are going to be $1,000. Length of time is going to be, let's just say we're going to do this for 10 years. Estimated interest rate, let's just put 10%. Interest rate variance range, we're not going to put anything in there, and we'll have a compound annually. Let me flip this around because I'm about to show you. Okay, so you see this? So we're only going to invest $1,000 a month. We're going to do that every single month. We're going to assume that we're going to invest for the next 10 years, and we'll invest at 10% interest rate. Now, truth of the matter is, and be honest with you, almost all my investments are over 20%. So even if it was 7%, 8%, that'd still be fine. But we're just going to calculate it at 10% interest, and we'll see. Let's calculate it and see what we get. So look at that. In 10 years, look how much you'll have. You'll have almost 200,000 in 10 years. So that's why I said, like, if you start at age basically 25 and you just invest 1,000 every single month, then you're going to have almost 200,000 already. Here's the crazy thing I want to show you. Hopefully it has it on here. So usually it tells you how much money you'll actually put in. So here, so you've only invested of your own money about 120,000, and yet that your 120,000 has made you has made you almost 200,000. That's the amazing part. Now check this out. Let's just do the same thing for another 10 years. So we'll do it for 20 years now instead of 10 years, okay? We'll keep everything the same, and we calculate it, and look where we're at now, almost $700,000. So if you start this at 25, by the time you're 45, you'll have about 700,000. Watch this, watch this, watch this. No, excuse me, yeah. Now let's do it for 30 years. Watch this. 30 years. And now let's calculate it. Now I have almost $2 million. So this is why I say why we don't do it is because we're not focused on it. Number two, why it doesn't happen is not because we're not smart. It is because we lack discipline, just discipline. And where do we lack discipline? We lack discipline in not spending as much as we're earning. And the only way we're not going to do that is to have discipline and have delayed gratification. So, what did I change about 12 years ago? I said, yo, first of all, I'm tired of struggling. I'm tired of people telling me what to do. I'm tired of feeling like I'm at the beck and call of other people. I'm tired of waiting on raises. I'm tired of waiting on my wife to earn more. I'm tired, like, I'm just tired, man. I'm tired. I'm tired of depending on other people. I don't want to do that no more. So I'm about to get really focused on getting my first 100,000 invested. How do I do that? Well, I gotta one, write it down on a piece of paper. I wrote it down on a big old whiteboard and I said, I'm getting my first 100,000. How am I going to do that? I'm going to start investing $1,000 a month. I don't make enough to do that. You do make enough. You're going to have to cut down some of your expenses. That's not going to feel good. I know, Jamil, but you're going to have to get massively disciplined. You're going to have to change the things that you do in your life. You're going to have to become extremely you're going to have to delay a lot of your gratifications. That's just how it's going to be. I know, but it feels uncomfortable. What do you want more, man? Do you want freedom? Do you want that first 100,000 invested so that you can move on to the million? Or do you not want to feel uncomfortable? Said I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Okay, great. So now what you're going to do is you're going to cut out all the stuff. What do you mean all the stuff? You're not going to eat out every night. You might have to get some roommates. I got to get some roommates. I love kind of living by myself. Yeah, you got to rent out a couple of these bedrooms. You got to that car note that you're paying 500, 600, $700 for, $800 for, $1,000 for a month. You got to get rid of that car. I got to get rid of my car. Yeah, man, you got to get rid of it. I don't want to. I got to get back and forth to work. You do need a car, but you don't need that car. You do need a car, but you don't need that car note. Man, okay. But what about, like, I like to look clean. I like to floss. I like to wear the jewelry. I gotta have the Jordans. I gotta have the J's. I gotta have my watches. I gotta go get my haircuts. I gotta go on vacation. I gotta do all these things. No, you don't. What do you want more? Do you want the 100K so you can move on to a million, or do you want those things? Damn. Okay. So I'm gonna have to basically save until it hurts. I'm gonna need to sacrifice a little bit. Yep. So here's what you gotta know. You don't have to be smart. Okay? You don't have to be smart. What you have to be is stubborn. You got to be massively stubborn. And so when people are asking you to do this and they're telling you to do this and they're telling you about that next best investment and they're telling you that, yo, it's this piece of real estate, or you got to come out to this club, or you got to go do this, or we just bought a boat, you should go get this boat, or we just got this timeshare, you got to stay massively stubborn. I'm not doing nothing. What am I doing? I'm going to work. I'm going to decrease my spending and I'm going to invest the rest. It's just stubborn. So the question I always tell people is, like, are you willing to suffer now so that you don't suffer later? And that's the decision that I really had to make. Jamil, are you willing to suffer now so you don't suffer later? And the one thing that I realized about myself was, like, envy was the number one reason why you don't become successful. And I use envy for a particular reason. Envy is like when you see your boys and you see your friends and you see your neighbors get something, and then you feel like you need to have it. And maybe it's not as strong as envy. Maybe it's just it's that comparison thing. They say comparison is the thief of all joy. But maybe I do want to call it envy. Because if you can quiet down envy, if you could shut out envy, then I don't care what you have. I don't care how you look. I don't care where you go. Like, I'm staying true to my plan. And it's about building the proper habits. How did I get to this place to where I'm willing to sit here and watch paint dry and not move and not do the things that most people are doing? One, I think it came down to starting a business. Starting a business is like one of the, like, a for real business. But starting a business is one of those things that if you allow it, it will teach you massively. It will teach you personal responsibility. It's going to teach you. Um, it's going to teach you. It should teach you delayed gratification. It is going to be like a personal development journey. Like, you're going to have to change so much of yourself. You're going to have to do things that you would rather not do when you would rather not do them. At least in my case. And one of the things when I started my business, I was so impatient. I was probably like the most impatient person on earth. I didn't understand why it wasn't happening fast enough. Why was it taking so long? Why wasn't I getting, getting the level of success that I wanted soon enough? Have you guys ever felt that? You tell me. Have you ever like gone after a goal in your life and you're like, fuck, man, why is this taking so damn long? Like, how come I'm not getting the success right now? Why am I not getting the money right now? Why am I not getting the team members right now? Why am I not getting the contracts right now? Why am I not getting the notoriety right now? How come I'm not getting the followers right now? Why aren't I getting the views right now? Like, what is the problem? And when I was building my business, thank God I had these incredible mentors that started to help me see that delayed gratification and being patient in the process was way more important than getting the riches right now. And so what they started to do was shape me on don't get quick success. What you need to do is wake up every single day and fall in love with the process. Fall in love with the process of picking up the phone and calling people. Fall in love with the process of marketing. Fall in love with the process of hiring people. Fall in love with the process of getting the right teammates in the house. Fall in love with the process of following up with people. Fall in love with the process of posting on social media. Fall in love with the process of doing more videos. Just fall in love with the process, and then what's going to happen is over time you're going to build up compounding, and then eventually the success is going to happen. But if all you do is just focus on the success out there, you don't fall in love with the process, then you're never going to be happy. And so what I started learning to do while building a business was I said, you know what, Jamil, it's coming. Freedom is going to come. Freedom is going to come. All you have to do, fall in love with the process. Do the things you're supposed to do, which built in discipline. So I told you, man, fall in love with the process of the process, have discipline, have massive delayed gratification. So that's how I started building up these habits to be a great investor. Number two, knowledge. One thing that if you are not doing, I am telling you, you got to start right now, and that is reading. Reading. If you seek, you shall find. And so I basically started looking for every single book I can find on making money, on growing money, and on preserving money, and on protecting money. And a book that I came across was this book called The Millionaire Next Door. And The Millionaire Next Door is this just incredible book by Tom Stanley. So when I graduated college with a sociology degree, but it was more like a social psych degree. So it's a lot of mixture of sociological concepts, theories, and philosophies mixed with psychology theories and philosophies. And so just my natural disposition is to be more of a sociologist. So I love books that have to do with like statistics, that have to do with behavior, that have to do with cognition, that have to do with studies, right? And so when I peeled back the layers of this book called The Millionaire Next Door, one thing that they did, and listen, you don't have to be smart. You just have to be less stupid than the next person. Okay. So as I'm reading this book, I am looking at what are the like they interviewed thousands of millionaires in the United States, and what they found was these people had certain characteristics. It wasn't random, right? It's not random, like it's not random to have your first 100,000 invested, and it's not random once you start having millions invested. There's certain characteristics that they found in its book called The Millionaire Next Door that it's just things that these people do. There's habits, there's mindsets, there's actions, and there's certain skill sets that these people have. So when I started seeing that, oh my God, these people are doing X, Y, and Z, I'm not the brightest tool in the shed, but if you're telling me these people do these things so that they could get this result, and because I desired that result, then I just started to force myself to do those things. So one of those things was these people had libraries that had tons and tons of books in them, and they actually read these books. And they're not like novels, these are more like self-help books. Okay. And they just devoured them. And once I started to learn that these people just gave themselves more knowledge because they were voracious readers and studiers, then that's what I did. And so I have hundreds of books in this house now that have been read on all sorts of disciplines. So knowledge was one of the ways that I started to change my habits, because if you know better, you'll do better. So between my business teaching me the habits and between reading books teaching me the habits, then that's how you really start to change the way that you attack investing. So in 2014, I set the goal to also just not care. One of the reasons that's getting you in trouble right now is you care too damn much about what other people think about you, what they're saying about you, what they're you need to break that inside of you. One thing I learned about myself was I was very, very weak and very emotional, and I cared too much about other people's opinions of me when none of these people were paying my bills. And so I specifically set a goal to go into 2014, which was only 11 years ago. And I said, Jamil, you need to break this desire to have other people like you. Okay. Like you need to break this desire to have other people champion the things that you do. And I realized that one of the reasons why I never got to my first 100,000 invested was because I was trying to be somebody that I wasn't, but I didn't even know I wasn't that dude because I never took the amount of time to explore who I really was. I never took the time to date me. I never took the time to quiet my mind and just shut up. And I didn't have the courage to just be who I am. And so I went into that year and I said, listen, I'm about to do some drastic things so that I can get this stench of caring about what other people think about me, get it off of me. And that's what I did. And it took me about 6 months of really self discovery to get to a place of where I just didn't care anymore. And it's amazing. Why does that matter? It matters because of that thing called envy. You remember, like, whenever I tell people like getting rich is super, like super easy, super, super easy. And I just gave you that formula. And I told you it's super easy because all you need to do is spend less than what you make and invest the rest. That's it. Now, every time I tell people that, they argue with me and they tell me that they can't do it, and they tell me I don't understand and all this BS. And what they're telling me is they don't really want to be successful. Because if I came alongside of them and I looked at their expense sheet, basically I looked at every single thing that person spent in that month. If they would allow me to see that, I guarantee you I would find a whole bunch of stuff in there that A, they did not need, or B, they could do differently that would save us at least $1,000. I promise you. I promise you. I don't care if this person is broken on freaking welfare or something, which I was for 20 years. I would be able to find some money. And even if it wasn't 1,000, I'd be able to find some. And then I would invest the rest. Okay. That's how simple it is. Now, one of the reasons why we spend more outside of our means, one of the reasons is that thing that I told you earlier, which is envy. We feel like we got to have all this stuff because everybody else has all this stuff. And when you can get to a place to where you break that in you, I'm gonna tell you how I broke it. So I went into the year and I was like, bro, here's I used to like my personal appearance used to be like really, really important to me. So you would always see me crispy, right? Always crisp haircut, fresh new watch, great shirt. Clothes were really important to me. Shoes were really important to me. What's important to you, by the way? But all these things were super important to me, and it was important for me that you told me how good I looked or how good I smelled or how clean shaven I was or whatever, right? Like I needed your validation. It was important for me that you liked my social media, right? I wanted everybody, I wanted validation from everybody. And I wanted to break that. So I decided to go into the year and I said I wasn't going to shave like I'm clean shaven right now. Well, I said I'm not gonna shave. I'm not gonna cut my hair. I'm not gonna shower. I'm not gonna buy any new clothes, new shoes, nothing. I'm not gonna do any of that stuff until I've proven to myself that I don't care what you think about me. I want you to say that I stink. I want you to say that I look like a bum. I want you to say whatever you're going to say about me. And until I get to the point to where I genuinely don't care what you say, I'm just going to stink. And I'm just going to be dirty and I'm going to stink, and I don't care. And it took me about 6 months. And a couple things happened. And I realized looking back on it, I was like, oh, I don't care. And at that moment I was free. And at that moment I no longer needed to buy stuff just to buy stuff. I haven't bought for real, I haven't bought new clothes for myself. Now other people bought me clothes, but I haven't bought new clothes for myself. I don't know, man. It's, I don't know, maybe 10 years. Shoes, nope. I cut my own hair. Um, I just realized that I really like me. I really love me without all the things. I also realized that I don't need to be around a whole bunch of people. Like before, I was like this social butterfly and all this stuff. Every event I had to be at. And then I started realizing I don't need that. Like I'm perfectly good staying here by myself. I actually have more enjoyment with me. And because of which, I rarely spend money. Rarely. Unless it's on my kids or my wife or we're traveling or something. But bro, I can go the whole week and never spend a dollar. The whole week, never spend a cent. And it's because I don't care. I'm not trying to keep up with anybody. Even if you gave me $20 million right now, it wouldn't change my day at all. It wouldn't change my lifestyle. I wouldn't all of a sudden go get an Aston Martin. I wouldn't get a jet. I wouldn't move to a new neighborhood. I would change nothing about how I operate, how I dress, I wouldn't do anything because I don't care. Like completely comfortable with where I'm at and what I have. And so you got to get to that stage. But I dropped my ego and I lost envy. I stopped comparing and I stopped caring what my neighbors are doing or what they have. So here's the key to getting your first 100,000. The key is patience. Patience, patience, patience. You got to become a patient individual. You got to watch paint dry. You got to get that first $100 invested, and then that first 200, and then that first 300. And your intelligence comes in your discipline. Your discipline to live below your means and invest the spread. That's it. I just showed you that in 10 years, 8 years of investing $1,000 a month, you would have $100,000. In 10 years, you would have 200,000. I just showed you in 20 years, you would have damn near 700,000, right? And I showed you that basically in 30 years, you would have about $2 million from only investing $1,000 a month, 12,000 a year. I'm telling you, man, anybody can do that, bro. Anybody can do that. And maybe you're like, well, I don't make enough. You could do something, right? If you're making 2,000 a month and you're saying, I don't make enough, fine. Then live off of $1,800 a month and invest the $200. You got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. But you got to learn how to control your emotions. You got to learn how to chill. You got to learn how to not get too sexy. All these people going to come to you with their brilliant ideas and stuff. Nope, don't care about it at all. I don't care about the crypto that you're invested in. I don't care about the insurances that you have. I don't care about that next big thing that your cousin, sisters, auntie, uncle, brother told you about. I don't care about none of that stuff. Nope. What I'm gonna do is every single month I'm gonna invest into a low cost index fund that tracks the stock market. I'm gonna buy me some blue chip companies and I'm gonna keep investing into them every single month. And I'm gonna chill and I'm gonna work and I'm gonna invest and I'm gonna live my life and I'm gonna work and I'm gonna invest and I'm gonna live my life and I'm gonna let that money start compounding for me and start making more money for me than I work for it. So it's hard to do. It's hard because you start with nothing and you don't see a lot of success at first. And oftentimes when we don't see immediate success, we just quit on the thing. I invest $100. I don't see nothing. I see $10 back. What the hell am I going to do with $10? I invest $1,000. I don't see much of anything. I get a thousand or $100 back at the end of the year. I'm like, why am I going to keep doing this? You keep doing it because once you invest 100,000, now you got 10,000 back at the end of the year. Okay, you've made basically 800 bucks every single month for doing nothing. That starts to get fun and it speeds up time. And then you get $1 million invested. Now every single year you're making $100,000 or maybe even more. Every year I probably make two to 400,000 just off of the money that I have invested. But I started with $10, right? So that's why it's hard. It forces you to live below your means, and you don't see a ton of return at the beginning. It's not sexy, but the secret is these last two things, and we'll get out of here. Secret is just be slightly less stupid than the people around you. You don't have to be brilliant. I graduated high school with a 2.2 GPA, and none of my teachers would have ever thought that I would be a multi millionaire. None of them. So you don't have to be smart. You just have to be slightly less stupid than those people around you. And you have to know that once you get to the first 100,000, that's the point you want to get to because after that, it starts to speed up. The next 100,000 comes in only like a couple years, and the next 100,000 comes in shorter amount of time, and then you start scaling more than that because you're not doing it. Compound interest is doing it. Hey, if you enjoyed this video at all, go on and like the channel. Give me a thumbs up. I appreciate those that gave me a thumbs up. Go and subscribe to the channel. And we do this every single Monday. So I'll see you on the next one. Talk to you soon. Have a great night.